Hey everyone, so for today's video I'm going to be attempting to do a print and cut using the Loklik cutter and the Loklik software. I've seen various things mentioned about print and cut with this cutter. Some people it seems to work for straight away, some people it didn't work for straight away. The comments and things I've seen are going back several months. So at the time of recording this video, it's the beginning of February. So I'm not sure when this video is going to go live on my YouTube channel. So just follow along, but obviously check for updates because this company seems to issue updates fairly regularly based on feedback that they're receiving from users of their machine and software. So I've got the software already opened here on my screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is come up to the top of my Loklik canvas where it says help, and I'm going to select help. So in here there's a beginner's guide, there's actually the manual. You can give feedback on, anything about the machine or the software or any error messages that you may get while you're using the software. And then you can check for updates, and there's a firmware update. So updates is normally to do with updates within the software, i.e. this Loklik Studio. And firmware updates are normally updates that belong to the machine. So I'm going to go to check for updates, and it says here current version is version 1.9.5. So it says in the description box here, 1, optimize reading of cutting sensor marks. So I'm guessing that's for print and cut. Modified to read the 2 marks on the left, and enhanced print then cut performance. And then number 2 says the new version must be matched with the firmware version 009 to use the print then cut and machine calibrating functions. And then it says number 3, they've done some bug fixes. So I'm going to click on update. Again, if you hear Eddie in the background, he just always turns into a naughty 2-year-old child when I start to either go on a phone or when I'm doing things like this, recording to my camera or my desktop. Okay, so now it says it's installed that version and it's asking me to restart now. So it says it's loading version 1.9.7 and I just need to log in. Okay, so that's restarted the program. So now I'm going to go up to help again and I'm going to come down to check for updates. And it says this is already the latest version, version 1.9.7. So originally I was on version 1.9.5. Now I'm on the updated version. So I'm going to close that down. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come to help and I'm going to come to firmware update, because it said, if you remember, that to be able to use the new print then cut features, you had to have the latest firmware, which is version 0009. I honestly don't know whether that's the version I have or not. So I'm going to plug my Loklik cutter in and I'm going to connect it and we'll see what happens next. Okay, so what I've done is I've put the mains lead into my Loklik cutter and plugged it into the mains, and I've put the white connection cable that came with my cutter into the machine, and I've plugged the other end, which is a USB stick, into my Mac computer. So I'm going to go back to help, back to firmware update, and see if it recognises that it's connected. I'm going to come to I'm going to click this USB search, and now it's found my Loklik cutter. It says my current firmware version is 0007 and the latest version is 0009. So I obviously need to download and install that. So normally when you work with this cutter, you can use it through Bluetooth. You don't need to have it connected to a computer. I never connect mine to a computer for the simple reason the cutter is about probably 10 feet away from where my computer is. So the cable's not long enough anyway. So when I'm using the cutter to cut, I do it all via Bluetooth. But when you're doing things like updates and firmware updates, it's best to connect it to your computer and use the cable that came with it. So now I'm going to say download, and I've got a message here that the version 0007 is the firmware version in use. Please don't download it again. So obviously I must need to click on this arrow, and I'm going to go to version 009. So obviously I'm leaving the mistakes in. I've now got the correct version chosen because it says here that's the latest version. So I'm going to choose download, and then let's see what happens. So now I need to say next. So it's obviously going to walk me through this now. So it says long press the power key, and I'm going to press, let's see, is there anything else to do? Keep pressing and click update. Press this little arrow again and see what it says. Release the key after the update is finished. So I'm still holding the power key on my cutter, and I can see down here there's a little wheel going round and it's saying update. So I assume I have to wait for some kind of message to appear on screen to say that it's successfully done, and then I let go. So you can see at the top here now it says update successful. So now I'm letting go of the power button on my machine. So to follow those instructions, all as I did, once this page came up, I pressed this little arrow here. You can see there's 3 dots. That means there's more information. So I pressed the arrow and it told me what to do and what should happen. And here now it's saying update successful. So I'm going to close that down. Then I'm going to go back to help, back to firmware update. My machine is still connected via USB. So I'm going to select the USB cable. I need to put my machine back on because it switched itself off when I did the update. I just want to see if this screen shows anything different than it did basically. So my machine is back on. I'm going to connect the USB by pressing the USB icon here. It should hopefully find my machine here in a minute. May have to do it a second time. There we go. So it's found my machine now. And now it's telling me that the latest version is installed. So I don't have to do anything at all now. So I can just close this box down. So now I'm just back to my basic Loklik page. So let me see if I can, I'm going to take the view down to about 80%. So by default, it comes on as millimeters. I would like it if Loklik could somehow make this so that when you change it to your desired preferences, it stays the same once you close the software down and reopen it. Because by default, it comes in as millimeters. And I know that the last time I used this software, I changed my match screen to inches. So I'm going to do the same again. So in this top left-hand corner where it says millimeters, I'm going to right click on my mouse. I'm going to change it to inches. Now, when I close this software down and then I reopen it, it will open back in millimeters. And I would prefer that it would open in its last used unit. So if anybody from Loklik is watching this, if you could include this in an update, it would be great. So now I want to test cut a print and cut. So I am going to go to import at the top of the page, and I've got 2 images saved in a folder on my desktop. So I'm going to go to the folder, and these are the 2 images. So the first one I'm going to bring in is a PNG image. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to say open, and here's my image. I'm going to choose extract contours, and because it's a PNG image, you can see there's no white background or anything anywhere around it. So I'm going to choose extract contours. I don't need to use the magic wand yet, but that's why I've got 2 images saved, because I'm going to show you how to use that in a minute. I don't even need to do crop because this is all a completely clear background. But if you had, you know, say something up here that you didn't want to keep in and you wanted to crop it out, or if you want to kind of give the software the best possibility to get you an outline for, you know, what you want rather than what it thinks, then you could use the crop. So I'm going to select crop, and then I'm going to left click somewhere just above the image, and I'm going to drag a box around this PNG and let go, and then I'm just going to drag this out a little bit so it's kind of just covering the outline. I'm going to say, yeah, that's what I want. And then I'm going to click next. Okay, so I can see that it's put a blue line around. If I preview it by clicking preview, you can see it's gone round the outline. But the image isn't joined up here at the bottom. So it would literally cut this, cut them two separately, cut that separately, and cut all this separately. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off preview, and then I'm going to expand this turquoise cut line so that more of it joins up, because that's really what I want the sticker to just cut around this whole thing. I'm going to say expand, and I'm just going to do it maybe 2 or 3 times, however much I need to get it to all join up. I think it's getting a bit closer now. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to go to preview, and that's more like it now. So these where the stars are here are all joined up, and this is all joined up. So I can turn off the preview. So that's the outline that I want the machine to cut on. So I'm going to say import. I'm just going to shrink the view down a bit so you can see it. I'm going to left click on it and then right click and say ungroup. Then I'm just going to left click anywhere on the page to deselect. I'm going to left click on this offset outline and then right click and center back. So I've got the image on the front. So now I'm just going to drag an imaginary box around everything, and I'm just going to size it down to about 2.5 inches, and then just put it somewhere on my map for now. I'm just going to zoom back out again to make the screen a bit bigger. Just put this down here out of the way. Now I'm going to come back to import, and then I'm going to go back to that folder, and this time I'm going to find my JPG, my JPEG, and open that. Now you'll see that the JPEG has got a coloured background, a white background, and this is why I wanted to show you 2 different ways. So if you're using a PNG, you won't have to do this step, but if you're using a JPEG, you will. So again, I'm going to come to extract contour. This time I'm going to select the magic wand and I'm going to click on this white space that's all around this star. So left click, and that's taken it away. Now, if you still had white spaces left, if you had a design that, you know, was a bit more intricate than this and you had white spaces left, you would just keep left clicking while you're still in the magic wand on the white spaces to get rid of them. But for now, that's okay. Again, I can crop it if I want to, just to make, you know, it a little bit easier to tell the software, you know, this is what I want you to concentrate on. Click the tick at the bottom so the software knows what I'm wanting. Say next. You don't have to do that, but you know, sometimes you might have something that's you don't want leaving in, and it's easier just to show you how to crop it. So again, I can see the blue turquoise cut line that the software's put in. I can preview it and then unpreview it. I'm going to expand it, and I'm going to do this one twice. I think I did the other one 3 times, but I'm just going to do this one twice. So I can see the blue cut line is moving further away from this green star. So now I'm going to say import. So again, I'm going to select, just left click on the turquoise star, right click and ungroup, left click anywhere on or off the page to deselect, click on the blue star again, right click and center back, or you can go to the layers panel and move them around here. Now again, I just want to choose just these 2. So hopefully I've got just these 2, and I'm going to shrink it down again to about 2.5 inches. And again, I'm just going to right click and group. So I've got my star with my cut line around it. Oh, and I've got my St. Patrick's Day. So I'm just going to put those over there. Now, one of these is grouped and one of them isn't. So from here, I want to print the images. So I'm just going to click on the printer and see what it shows me, because I may have to ungroup them. So I'm going to click on the star, hold my shift key down and click in the image of the St. Patrick's Day. Go to printer, and I can see on the star the cut lines there, and I don't want that. So I'm going to cancel it. And that's because this one's a group. So I'm going to right click and ungroup. and left click anywhere to deselect. I'm going to do the same thing now. So I'm just going to click in the middle of the green image, which is the green star, hold my shift key down and just click somewhere on the image of this St. Patrick's, and then go back to print. And now I've just got the images. So from here, I should be able to send this to the printer. So I'm just going to cancel that for a minute. So I'm going to select everything and just bring them over here. Okay, so I'm going to left click on the star, hold my shift key down, left click on the St. Patrick's image, go to print. That was Eddie. I'm just going to, I can see I've just got the two images. I've got a piece of sticker paper loaded into my printer and I'm going to hit print. My print dialog box has come up now and I'm just going to leave everything as it is. So I've got A4 selected, I've got portrait, it's in colour. So these are like my default printer settings. So I'm just going to say print. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that. Now, one thing I have forgot to do is I've not done a print calibration. So I'm not going to move anything. I'm going to leave all these here, but I'm going to come back to help and I'm going to come to machine calibration, and it says print out the machine calibration chart. If you already have one, click next. Well, I've not got one, so I'm going to click print. But the first thing I do notice is I've only got two registration marks and I thought we would have four, but anyway, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to print this. Again, I've got my printer dialog box. I'm just going to leave everything as it is and say print. Okay, so that's printed. So let's see what happens now. So I'm going to press next. So now it's saying to me, place a calibration chart on the cutting mat, click cut and get your cutting lines. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so this is my printout with my two designs on, and this is how it's printed my registration sheet. Now this is how it showed on screen, but in previous videos I've seen, I'm sure there should be 4 registration marks, but that may be something that they've changed in the update, or it may be a fault, I'm not sure. So that's what I'm working with so far. And then this is the calibration sheet, and I'm not sure how well you're going to see this, but basically, I'll try and get it in a bit more. So you've got 2 sets of lines at the top with an A underneath. Then this says C, D, and this should be B, but there's no B printed on here. So again, I don't know if that's a fault or not. I don't know. So what I'm going to do, I am going to look through each of these sets of lines and I'm going to make a mark at the line where the cut line is like perfectly on the printed line, and I'm going to do that for each of the 4 sections. And then once I've got those numbers, they're the numbers that are then put into the software, which should calibrate the machine. So I'm just going to do that and I'll come back and show you, because I need to get right over this to see where all the cut lines are. Okay, so I'm back and I've put a tick mark against the numbers. I'm a bit confused. I'm not actually sure why we've got 2 sets of lines. And the reason I'm saying that is, for example, this one at the top under A, I think is -1. But this one under C could be 1 or -1 from what I can feel where the cut line is. But I think maybe -1 is more, I'm not sure, I don't know. I've tried to look in the sunlight. So I've chosen 1 on C, and the same with D. From what I can see on the cut lines, it could be 1 or -1, so I'm going with 1. And then on what should be B, I'm going for -1 for the simple reason that on 1, although the line appears to be okay here, it's under the black printed line here. So I think my settings are on A, I've got -1. On B, I'm going with -1. On C, I'm going with 1. And on D, I'm going with 1. And I'm going to punch them into the computer and then try and cut this print out and see what happens. Okay, so you've just seen me write the numbers down on the piece of paper from the printed calibration sheet. Okay, so what I need to do now is put these values in here from that printed sheet. A was -1, so I'm just going to click in the minus. B was -1, and C and D were both 1, so I'm going to click on the plus on C and the plus on D. I've still got my machine connected to my computer, and I'm going to press calibrate. So I've got -1, -1, 1, 1. Don't use my settings because all machines will be different. So, you know, make sure you print your own calibration sheet, put it on your mat, cut it, and follow these steps through and input your own calibration numbers. So I'm going to press calibrate. So now it says it's calibrated successfully, and that screen has disappeared. So now I've got my printable here, which you also saw at the beginning. So I'm going to put that onto my mat now and try and cut this and see what happens. So with my printable, I'm going to line my printed sticker paper up in the top left-hand corner here. I'm going to use my low grip mat, which is what I used for the calibration printout, and then I'll show you what we're looking like. Connect device. I've already done the print. I want to do the cut now, so I'm on cut. I've got my Loklik crafter, I've got my 12 by 12 mat. I want the offsets, so I want that one and that one. I'm not using Loklik material, but I'm going to leave it on Loklik because by choosing Loklik, it will set the force and speed and everything for me. In material, I'm going to use sublimation paper 105 grams because I'm actually using a sticker paper that I got off Amazon, and I don't know the weight of it, but it's fairly thin. So I'm going to go with 105 grams because I think that's the least. If you look further down here, you've got sublimation 120. I don't think it's that thick, so I'm going to go with 105 grams. And that's obviously now set the force and the speed and the blade and everything for me. I don't need to mirror anything. I'm going to say cut, and now I can see the two offset lines here on my mat. So I'm going to press start, and I've got my camera pointed at the machine, so hopefully you'll be able to see if this works or not. Okay, so I just want to show you that I've got my sticker paper lined up in the top left-hand corner of my mat. I'm going to put my mat in and load. I'm going to come back to my screen, connect device, press start. Okay, now I'm not sure how well you're going to see this, but I can see that this is a fail. So I'm going to lift up a corner. It's cut, but look, the offset is perfect all around the left-hand side, but on the right, it's not. So that's a fail. And I'm guessing this one's going to be the same. I've just ripped that now, trying to get it off this mat, but hopefully this sticker paper is very sticky. Hopefully you'll see. So on the left hand side here, it started to cut with the nice offset border that I put on, but on the right, it's not right at all. And along the bottom here, there's no white. There should be an evenly spaced white border like this all the way around the design. So that's a fail. So I'm going to contact Loklik and I'm going to let them know what I've done, so that I've updated my software to the latest version. I've updated the firmware, I've calibrated the machine, and I've done a print and cut, and it's not worked. Okay, so you just saw that the print and cut was a fail. I just wanted to come back and let you know that I have found a way to be able to make sure that my printout shows all the 4 letters A, B, C and D. So I just want to show you that quickly in case this happens to you. I've not heard from Loklik at the moment, so I don't know whether there is any solution to why my print and cut is not working. But anyway, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go back up to the top of the page to help. I'm going to go to machine calibration, and then where it says print, I'm going to print. So this is what I did originally. My print dialog box came up as I showed you, and I didn't touch anything, and I sent it to print, and I showed you earlier in the video where you could see the 4 sets of lines, but the letter B was missing from the bottom set of lines. The way I've managed to get my printer to print that is, in my dialog box here, I have this option at the bottom that says PDF. So I clicked on the arrow and I saved as PDF. And then this box came up and I saved it onto my desktop, and I'm just going to do the same now. So save to desktop. So then the document is here on my desktop. So if I just double click to open it, you'll see that I've still only got the registration lines on the top left and bottom left. But this time when I print this letter B does print. So now I'm just going to close that down and I'm going to follow this process through and show you what is happening to me. So I'm going to put this printout, as you can see it here with the letter B on the bottom, onto my mat, and then I'm just going to change over to my other camera and let you see what is happening. So I'm going to click next. So it tells me to place the calibration chart on the cutting mat and cut the cutting lines. I'm just going to place the mat into the machine and press the load button on the machine, and you should be seeing this on my camera view. So that's in there now. So other than that load button on the machine, I'm not touching any other buttons, okay? So now I'm going to click next here on the screen. I'm going to find my machine, which is still connected via the USB cable. And I have to say that this bit is hit and miss, because sometimes it finds the machine and you don't get the cut button. Sometimes it doesn't find the machine and you have to press the USB button again. I've probably wasted at least an hour or more trying to get this to work. So anyway, at least this time it's recognised the machine and it's giving me the cut button. So I'm pressing the cut button here on my computer screen, not on the machine. I've tried it both ways and it still failed. So I'm just going to follow it through as it says, tells you to cut. So now you should be able to see on my camera that the Loklik is going over that left-hand registration on the printable paper. So it's recognising that. It's going down to the bottom and it's looking for the registration mark on the left. And now it should be cutting the cut lines in this printable. But as you can see, it's just spit the mat out. And if I come back to my desktop, it tells me here that it's cutting. And it isn't. So this is a big fat fail for me on the print and cut. The machine itself cuts absolutely brilliantly when I've been cutting vinyl. I've been using this machine as my vinyl cutter for my other business where I make, you know, personalised dog bandanas or other things. And if I need heat transfer vinyl cutting for the bandanas or for clothing, I've been using my Loklik cutter. It's become, as I say, my vinyl cutter. But this whole print and cut experience has just been an absolute nightmare. This is day 2 of me trying this now. So yesterday I, walked you through how to bring in images and how to calibrate your firmware, how to calibrate your software, how to print your print and cut calibration. And then I spent hours after I'd stopped filming trying to get this machine to cut. I can't tell you how many printable sheets I've put through my printer and printed them and put them on the mat and got it to try and cut and to try and recognise, and it's not recognised anything. Now, using the PDF printable where all the 4 letters A, B, C, D are showing, along with all the 4 cut lines, all the 4 printable lines that the machine needs to cut, it's not even cutting. So, as I say, big fat fail for the print and cut on the versions that I've got installed on my Loklik cutter at the moment, which are all the up-to-date versions for the software, the firmware, as of the beginning of February 2024. Hopefully I'll get some kind of solution. So I'm not sure when you're going to see this. So hopefully by the time you do see this, I may have a solution, and then there'll be a follow-up video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click on that bell notification and you turn on all notifications. That way you'll be notified when I do upload. And if you are having a problem with your print and cut on your Loklik cutter, then, hopefully I may have some form of a solution for you in the future. Thanks for now. See you in the next video.